Hello students, I'm Dr. Himanshu Kandpal, Assistant Professor English, Government MS College for Women, Bikaner. Today we are going to discuss the story of the novel Samskara, A Rite for a Dead Man, written by one of the renowned writers, U.R. Ananthmurthy. Samskara is a Sanskrit word with many meanings. It means a rite of passage or life cycle ceremony, or forming well, making perfect. Another meaning is the realizing of past perceptions, or another meaning is preparation, making ready, are some of the meanings of the multivocal Sanskrit word. The opening event of the novel is death. It is the death of an anti-Brahminical Brahmin's death. This death brings in its wake a plague, many deaths, teasing questions without answers, old answers that do not suit the new questions, and the rebirth of a good Brahmin, Puranisha Charya, in trying to solve the dilemma of who should perform the death rite. Sanskara, the Acharya begins a sanskara, a transformation for himself. So, a rite for the dead man. Rite here means a religious or traditional ceremony that is carried out by a particular group or within a particular society. A rite for the dead man becomes a rite of passage for the living Acharya. We are going to begin the novel with the introduction to the author. Udupi Rajgopalacharya Ananthmurthy, 1932-2014, is a contemporary writer and critic in the Kannada language and is considered as one of the pioneers of the Navya movement. He is well known among Indian authors. He is the sixth person among 8 recipients of the Gyanpith Award for the Kannada language, the highest literary honor conferred in India. In 1998, he received the Padma Bhushan Award from the Government of India. He was the Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University in Kerala during the late 1980s. Ananthmurthy's works have been translated into several Indian and European languages, and he has been awarded with important literary prizes. His main works include Samskara, Bhava, Bharatipura, and Avasthe. He has written numerous short stories as well. Several of his novels and short fictions have been made into movies. Most of Ananthmurthy's literary works deals with psychological aspects of people in different situations, times, and circumstances. His writings supposedly analyze aspects ranging from challenges and changes faced by Brahmin families of Karnataka to bureaucrats dealing with politics influencing their work. Now we move on to the story of the novel Samskara. Samskara is one of the acknowledged masterpieces of modern world literature. It is originally written in Kannada and is an allegorical novel about a decaying Brahmin colony in a Karnataka village. It was made into an award-winning controversial film in 1970, and in 1976 it was translated into English by A.K. Ramanujan. It is a tale of existential suspense, a life and death encounter between the sacred and the profane, the pure and the impure, the ascetic and the erotic. So, Murthy's novel is a complicated thinking machine. It begins plainly enough with the Brahmins of a celebrated, proud and a bit decaying Agrahara, that means settlement, facing a tough choice. If they bury a dead Brahmin reprobate is an unprincipled person, they avoid the sin of leaving him untended But if he is considered utterly reprobate and no longer truly Brahmin, because of his many sins of word and deed, they hopelessly pollute themselves through contact, as they also do if they allow a true Brahmin to be buried by anyone else, aggravating their plight in that word of a mistake. In such a matter would ruin their reputation as specially holy high settlement, a reputation based on the presence of Puranishacharya. The crisis is complicated by a series of misfortunes. Puranishacharya contends with his long-standing rivalry with the victim Naranappa, who turns out to have died from plague, which begins to spread in the village. So, the title word Samskara is very commonly used in Hindu society. Samskaras are a rigid, strict form of rites conducted for the initiation of men from childhood. It started with birth, childhood onwards, to pursue a particular line of thought or set of principles, and the one who has undergone these rites is not supposed to stray from the path he is committed to. These are the rites for children, for adults, for old men, and the dead too. As I've earlier told you, rite is a religious or a traditional ceremony that is carried out by a particular group or within a particular society. These rites are thought or set of principles. The one has undergone these rites is not supposed to stray from the path he is committed to. These are the rites for children, for adults, for old men, and the dead too. There are set rules of performing these rites prescribed by Hindu Shastras. Any violation of their procedure and purpose results in social boycott and exile. If one person is going to violate the rules given by the particular society, the result is going to be the social boycott and exile. Though the whole Hindu society is bound in varying degrees by rites, their hold is wise like on upper caste Hindus, especially Brahmins. It is in this context the novel is set. Ananthmurthy's Samskara has an excellent storyline gripping the attention of the readers. Praneshacharya is a very learned and orthodox man belonging to the community of Madhava Brahmins. He has had his Vedic education in Kashi, Banaras, and given the title the crest jewel of Vedic learning. He is called as Vedanta Shiromani because he was a learned and knowledgeable person. He is living in the highly orthodox village of Durvasapura in Mysore. He is the judge of the Agrahara. Agrahara is a settlement in all matters of religion, ritual, and conduct. His very life is a model of self-sacrifice and religious conventions. He married an invalid girl, Bhagirathi, in order to render disinterested service and earn salvation. As advised in the Gita, he practices Nishkam Yoga, performing his duty without desiring the fruit thereof. He believes that the merciful Lord has put him to his way of ascetic life, spiritual life, to test him. His heart overflows with gratitude for his bedridden wife Bhagirathi, who, by becoming an invalid, has obliged him, has given a chance to him with the opportunity of becoming more perfect and mellower on the road to salvation, and he incessantly, continuously rejoices in his fate. He is happy in his state. The plot of the novel is divided into three parts. Part 1 consists of 10 chapters, Part 2 consists of 6 chapters, and Part 3 consists of 2 chapters. In the Agrahara of Durvasapura village, a death occurs. So, this is how the novel moves forward. In the settlement of Durvasapura village, a death occurs. The Agrahara Brahmins are very orthodox, bound by the rites and rituals all through the year. Praneshacharya is the spiritual leader of the Agrahara. There arises a problem in the settlement regarding the performance of funeral rites of the deceased. This is because the deceased Naranappa, the person who died, though a Brahmin of Agrahara, has flouted, has violated all the established codes of conduct of the sect and chosen to follow the life of a reprobate. Reprobate means an unprincipled person and challenged the orthodoxy of the Agrahara. As a result of this, his next of kin are unwilling to perform the Samskara for his, as he is without an heir. Naranappa has his own reasons for choosing this kind of lifestyle. If we call him reprobate, an unprincipled person, he has his own reasons for choosing this kind of lifestyle. He believes that Brahmanism is in shambles. He believes in enjoying the pleasures of life. According to him, the Brahmins themselves are responsible for their present despicable condition. He feels that people like Garuda and Lakshmana dynamite the good values for which Brahmin society is held in great esteem. Though he outwardly worshipped the Brahminic cult and its orthodoxy, they do everything that goes against the tenets of ideal Brahmanhood. So, Praneshacharya does not want to excommunicate Naranappa. He tries to reform and bring him back to the mainstream. He personally visits Naranappa and tries to reason him out and advises him to mend his ways, but Naranappa treats him with mockery and challenges him, saying that he will win over him hands down and raise the grave over Brahmanhood. He even dares to give a peace advice to the Acharya. He wants the Agrahara Brahmins to push their sickly wives into the river and get hold of some fish-scented lower caste women like the legendary Matsyagandhi. So as a result of this, his next of kin are unwilling to, when he dies, as a result of this, his next of his kin are unwilling. People in the Agrahara community, they are unwilling to perform the sanskara for his, as he is without an heir. So they come to Acharya for Praneshacharya for the solution. The Acharya searches for an answer for this problem in his books. Not finding a suitable answer in them, he goes to Maruti temple to seek a divine decree from the god. But Maruti does not oblige him with any clue or so. As he is returning from the temple, Chandari, the concubine of late Naranappa, tries to fall at his feet to seek his blessings. Chandri is another, though minor in the novel, in her own right, besides being beautiful, everyone's sex object, a prostitute Naranappa brought back from the neighboring cities. She is an exception to all the rules. A running river that doesn't dry, doesn't tire. She is the opposite of Acharya's ascetic rule book, and she doesn't see her dead lover as a problem for the fine print of Brahminic law, but as neither Brahman nor Shudra are kakas, a stinking, rotting kakas. Since that not her lover Naranappa, she can get him cremated by a Muslim whom Naranappa had bailed out. As Praneshacharya is returning from the temple, Chandari, the concubine of late Naranappa, tries to fall at his feet to seek his blessings. In this process, the Acharya gains close physical contact with her, and this leads to his sexual intimacy with her. Praneshacharya feels compassion for her when they come upon each other in the forest at the night, is then bewildered, then feels a thrill of tenderness, then faint, then hunger, raged, and finally he cried out like a child in distress. The Acharya decides to return to the Agrahara and tell everything that happened between him and Chandri to them. But Chandri goes to Naranappa's house and arranges to cremate him with the help of a Muslim fish merchant by name Ahmad Bari. But this is not known to anyone else in the Agrahara. The Acharya tells the Agrahara Brahmins that he is not able to guide them and they are free to choose as their hearts dictate. The Brahmins try to seek a solution for this problem by going to Kamara and meeting a Pandit there, but he too is unable to decide the issue. So they go to their Guru at the mutt there. The Guru asks them to perform the Samskara for the deceased and hand over his property to the mutt as per convention. On the return from mutt, face the death of one of them and another lying sick very seriously. They also learn about the death of Praneshacharya's wife, but the Acharya walks out of the Agrahara after the cremation of his wife. He wanders aimlessly like a gypsy. During his wandering, he meets Putta. Putta takes the Acharya along with him and exposes him to new experiences. The Acharya decides to cast off his fear and return to his Agrahara to face things there in his altered personality. He has now gained a rite of passage. The Agrahara Brahmins who do not know what Acharya desertion make the preparation for the cremation of Naranappa and waiting patiently for the return of the Praneshacharya. The end of the novel still does not bring a resolution to Praneshacharya's journey. His extreme asceticism has blinded him to the physical enjoyments of the world outside of his rigid rituals and cleansing baths. What begins as a sanskara for a dead man becomes a sanskara or a rite of passage into a wholly different cycle of life for Praneshacharya. So we can say there is a quest in the novel. Quest from home, quest for treasure, for salvation, for experience, and a quest for one's own true self as undertaken by Praneshacharya, the protagonist of Samskara. During a journey, when you shed your past, your history, the world see you as just one more Brahmin, realizes Praneshacharya after he leaves his village, and his continuing education seems to consist in learning to adjust to the world's image of himself. In the eyes of the villager he meets on the way, he is no longer the crest jewel of Vedanta, but a lowly Brahmin, perhaps on his alms collection round. And if he loses even external appearance of a Brahmin, his image of himself would have to be further adjusted to the world's image of him as an anonymous, casteless wanderer. This is the storyline of the novel Samskara. I hope you like the video. Please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you.